Hello and welcome, my dear friends. Today, I want to share with you the story of a man who inspired millions of people with his words, his courage, and his vision for a better world. He was young, he was full of energy, he was charming. He was also brave and determined. He became the youngest elected president in the history of the United States. His name was John F. Kennedy, but many called him simply JFK. Kennedy came from a famous family. He was rich, but his life was not easy. He was often sick. He fought in war. He faced dangers and challenges. Yet he became a leader who gave hope to America during a difficult time in history. This story is not only about politics, it is about family, courage, responsibility, and vision. It is about a man who believed that people can work together to create a better future. Now, let us begin the journey of John F. Kennedy, America's youngest president. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was born on May 29, 1917, in Brookline, Massachusetts. He was the second of 9 children. His parents were Joseph Kennedy and Rose Fitzgerald Kennedy. The Kennedy family was large, noisy, and competitive. Joseph, the father, was ambitious. He wanted his children to succeed. He pushed them to study hard, to play sports, to be leaders. Rose, the mother, was religious and strict. She taught her children discipline, prayer, and family values. Each child in the Kennedy family was expected to do great things. The sons were taught to enter politics and business. The daughters were taught to support their brothers and also live with strength and dignity. John, called Jack by his family, grew up in this busy household. He loved jokes, laughter, and fun, but he also learned discipline and responsibility. A childhood of illness and reading. Jack Kennedy was not always strong. As a child, he was sick many times. He suffered from scarlet fever and other illnesses. Doctors worried about his health. Because of sickness, Jack spent long periods in bed. While resting, he read many books. He loved history, adventure, and stories of heroes. He learned about presidents, wars, and world leaders. Though his body was weak, his mind grew strong. Reading gave him imagination and knowledge. When he was well, he enjoyed sailing, swimming, and playing outside. But illness always returned. His family often worried that Jack might not live long. This early battle with sickness gave Jack courage. He learned not to give up. He learned to fight pain with determination. Growing up in a political family, the Kennedys were not only rich, they were also connected to politics. Jack's grandfather, John Fitzgerald, had been the mayor of Boston. His father, Joseph, worked in government and business. At the family dinner table, the children often heard discussions about politics, business, and the world. Jack listened carefully. His older brother, Joseph Jr., was expected to become president one day. Joe was strong, smart, and confident. Jack, because of his sickness, was not seen as the future leader, but life would surprise everyone. School and early education. Jack went to private schools. At first, he did not always get the best grades. He was sometimes careless and playful. But when he was interested in a subject, he studied deeply. He loved history and English. He was good at debates and speeches. He was curious about how nations worked, why wars started, and how leaders made decisions. In his teenage years, Jack also played sports like football and swimming. He was not the strongest, but he had courage. His teachers noticed he had a natural charm. People liked him. He had a smile that made others feel comfortable. Travels that opened his eyes. As a teenager, Jack traveled with his family to Europe. He saw countries, cultures, and history. He saw both beauty and poverty. In the 1930s, Europe was in danger. Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany were rising. War was coming. Jack saw the fear and tension. These travels opened his mind. He realized the world was connected. He understood that America had a role to play in peace and freedom. Harvard years. Jack went to Harvard University. There, he studied government and international affairs. He was serious, but also enjoyed college life, sailing, friends, and sports. During his time at Harvard, Jack wrote a thesis about Britain before World War II. He explained how Britain was not prepared for the war against Germany. This thesis was later published as a book called Why England Slept. It was his first book, and it showed his interest in world affairs. World War II and heroism. When World War II began, Jack Kennedy joined the U.S. Navy. He wanted to serve his country, even though his health was weak. He became the commander of a small boat called PT-109 in the Pacific Ocean. In 1943, a Japanese destroyer hit PT-109 and cut it in half. 2 men died. The rest were thrown into the water. Jack was injured, but he led his men to safety. He pulled one wounded man by holding a strap in his teeth and swimming for hours. The survivors hid on small islands until they were rescued. For his bravery, Jack received the Navy and Marine Corps Medal. Newspapers told the story. Jack Kennedy became a war hero. This experience shaped him. He knew what it meant to risk his life for others. He knew the meaning of responsibility and courage. A new path. Politics. After the war, Jack thought about his future. His older brother, Joe Jr., had died in the war, so now the family looked to Jack to lead. With his father's encouragement, Jack entered politics. In 1946, he ran for Congress in Massachusetts. He worked hard, meeting people, shaking hands, listening to their problems. His charm and war hero image helped him. He won the election. For 6 years, he served in the House of Representatives. He focused on housing, veterans, and foreign affairs. In 1952, Jack ran for the U.S. Senate. It was a tough race, but he worked tirelessly and won. Now he was a senator. Love and marriage. In 1953, John F. Kennedy married Jacqueline Bouvier, known as Jackie. She was intelligent, elegant, and graceful. Together, they became one of America's most admired couples. Jackie supported John, but also had her own strength. Later, as First Lady, she became famous for her style, culture, and dignity. The Kennedys had children, though they faced tragedies too. Not all their children survived. These personal pains made them more human in the eyes of the public. A rising star. In the Senate, Kennedy continued to grow as a leader. He wrote another book, Profiles in Courage, about senators who showed bravery in difficult times. The book won the Pulitzer Prize, a great honor for writers. It made Kennedy more famous. People began to see him as a future president. He was young, handsome, and full of energy. America was ready for a new generation of leaders. Running for president. In 1960, John F. Kennedy ran for president. He was only 43 years old. Many thought he was too young. Some worried because he was Catholic, and no Catholic had ever been president. But Kennedy was confident. He spoke about a new frontier, a new era of science, exploration, and hope. The debates between Kennedy and his opponent, Richard Nixon, were the first ever shown on television. Millions watched. Kennedy looked calm, healthy, and confident. Nixon looked tired and nervous. Television helped Kennedy win. People believed in his vision. He won the election by a small margin, becoming the youngest elected president of the United States. On January 20th, 1961, Kennedy gave his inauguration speech. His words inspired people. He said, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." This call to service touched millions. Young people wanted to volunteer. Citizens felt hope. America believed in a bright future. As president, Kennedy faced many challenges: the Cold War with the Soviet Union, the Bay of Pigs invasion in Cuba, the Berlin Wall crisis, the Cuban Missile Crisis, civil rights issues in America, the space race. He made mistakes, but he learned from them. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, he led the nation through 13 days of fear when nuclear war seemed near. He stayed calm, made wise decisions, and avoided disaster. He also pushed for space exploration. He promised America would land a man on the moon before the decade ended. His words inspired scientists and engineers. At home, Kennedy began to support civil rights more strongly. He called for equality for African Americans. He said the fight for civil rights was a moral issue. A tragic end. On November 22nd, 1963, Kennedy visited Dallas, Texas. He rode in an open car with Jackie. Suddenly, shots were fired. Kennedy was hit and killed. He was only 46 years old. The nation was shocked. The world mourned. Millions cried. His death was one of the darkest days in American history. Jackie stood strong, becoming a symbol of dignity. His funeral was watched by people around the world. Legacy of Hope. Though his presidency was short, John F. Kennedy left a deep mark on history. He inspired people to serve. He created the Peace Corps, sending volunteers to help in poor countries. He stood firm against nuclear war. He encouraged space exploration. He supported civil rights. His words still inspire today. He showed that leadership is about vision, courage, and service. So, what do we learn from John F. Kennedy's life? We learn that youth is not a weakness, it can be strength. We learn that courage means standing calm in crisis. We learn that words can inspire nations. Kennedy's life was short, but his impact was great. He showed that leadership is about service, not power alone.